It's 2011, and Walmart faces a $16 billion dilemma. After years of relentless expansion, the world's largest retailer has suddenly stalled. Same-store sales have plateaued, and there's hardly any room left for new supercenters. While international markets like Mexico, Chile, and China have fueled much of Walmart's recent growth, the company is searching for a move bold enough to redefine its global presence. 8,000 miles from Bentonville, Walmart's executives saw an opportunity that made their spreadsheets glow. Africa, a continent of over 1 billion people, where modern retail was still in its infancy. With one bold acquisition, Walmart could leapfrog into a leadership position across multiple countries. As it turns out, this would become one of the company's most ambitious and controversial gamble ever. At the time, Sub-Saharan Africa was one of the world's last great untapped market. The numbers were impossible to ignore. Consumer spending across the region was set to skyrocket from $860 billion to $1.4 trillion by 2020, growth that left most developed markets in the dust. According to McKinsey, Africa already had more middle-class households than India, flipping the usual assumptions about where the world's next big consumers would come from. Looking ahead to 2030, the continent's top 18 cities were projected to command $1.3 trillion in spending power. Unlike China and India, where workforces were starting to shrink, Africa's labor force was growing rapidly. The continent had become the world's second fastest growing economy, serving over 1 billion people with a combined GDP nearing $2 trillion. For Walmart, this was a once-in-a-generation opportunity, but it came with serious hurdles. Political instability, weak infrastructure, tangled regulations, and cultural complexities that had tripped up many international retailers before. South Africa became Walmart's solution to the African puzzle. It was the only country on the continent offering a rare mix: stable politics, a robust economy, and a sophisticated retail sector, making it the ideal launchpad for expansion across Africa. The fundamentals were hard to beat. South Africa was the continent's largest and most developed market, accounting for about 20% of its total consumer spending. But what really set it apart was its regulatory environment. The Competition Act of 1998 didn't just focus on economic efficiency, but it also weighed broader public interests like equity, employment, and the impact on small businesses. The government was actively courting foreign investment to fix infrastructure gaps and boost growth, making South Africa relatively open to big ventures. Labor unions held real power and would scrutinize any major foreign takeover, but analysts believed that if Walmart could navigate South Africa's tough labor laws, it would have a much easier time elsewhere on the continent. The country boasted one of Africa's most competitive retail industry, dominated by local heavyweights like Shoprite, Pick n Pay, Spar, and Woolworths, all with deep supplier networks and ambitious expansion plans. The competition was fierce, but that only underscored the market's maturity and promise. Moreover, Walmart wasn't about to start from scratch. No, that was too risky. Instead, the company needed a shortcut, a way to break in quickly and effectively. The answer came in the form of a South African company, perfectly positioned to solve Walmart's entry problem. Massmart was exactly what Walmart needed to unlock its African market, a strategic shortcut that offered instant access to nearly 300 stores across South Africa and a dozen other countries. A network that would have taken Walmart years and billions to build from scratch. But Massmart wasn't just some random retailer. It was Africa's second largest distributor of consumer goods, with leading positions in everything from general merchandise and liquor to home improvement and wholesale food. Its growth strategy and store formats closely mirrored Walmart's own, making for a natural fit that could fast-track integration and expansion. Most crucially, Massmart brought something Walmart couldn't buy off the shelf: a deep local expertise and relationships. Its leadership understood the cultural and political nuances of African markets, and its aggressive expansion plans lined up perfectly with Walmart's ambitions, aiming for 150 new stores and a 50% boost in fresh food sales. This move would put Walmart ahead of European giants like Carrefour, Tesco, and Metro in the race for Africa's retail crown. With a carefully planned $2.4 billion acquisition for a 51% stake in Massmart, the American giant positioned itself to seize Africa's vast potential, while sidestepping many of the risks that had kept other international retailers at bay. Now it was time to put the plan into action. Walmart entered South Africa brimming with confidence in its tried and true formula. The everyday low price strategy had conquered markets worldwide, built on the idea that sheer buying power could squeeze costs from global suppliers, especially in China, and deliver unbeatable prices to consumers. But almost immediately, things started to fall apart. Unlike other markets, where the main challenge is commercial competition, South Africa presented a tangled web of political, social, and economic resistance that Walmart hadn't anticipated. An anti-Walmart coalition quickly formed, uniting major trade unions, civil society groups, and even 3 government departments. Their concerns cut right to the heart of Walmart's business model. Labor unions pointed to Walmart's history of union hostility, low wages, and precarious jobs. Government officials worried that Walmart's reliance on Chinese suppliers would undermine local manufacturing, agriculture, and food processing. The merger approval turned into a drawn-out battle, with tribunals and court hearings stretching on and on. When the Competition Tribunal finally gave the green light, it came with strings attached, unprecedented conditions that forced Walmart to rethink its core practices. The company had to guarantee no Massmart jobs would be cut for 2 years, give hiring preference to previously laid-off workers, honor labor bargaining rights for at least 3 years, and set up a $33 million local supplier development program. These requirements were unlike anything Walmart had faced abroad. The retailer that built its empire on global sourcing and supply chain efficiency was now legally required to prioritize local procurement and protect jobs. After the regulatory hurdles, as Walmart rolled out its strategies through Massmart, logistical hurdles started. Border crossings caused unpredictable delays, rail and airline services were plagued by inefficiencies, and poor road infrastructure, combined with high maintenance costs, turned the simple act of moving products from South African ports to store shelves into a constant headache. Deep structural challenges that piled extra costs onto every transaction. Natural disasters only made things worse, exposing just how fragile these supply chains really were. E-commerce brought its own set of obstacles. While Walmart had mastered online retail elsewhere, Africa's digital infrastructure lagged far behind. High broadband prices, spotty internet, and unreliable postal services created barriers that technology alone couldn't fix. By 2021, just 2.2% of Massmart's sales came from online channels. Brick-and-mortar stores still made up more than 95% of retail sales in South Africa, and Walmart's confidence in its ability to shake up the market with low prices quickly ran into the reality of entrenched, sophisticated competitors who knew the local landscape far better. ShopRite alone operates almost 2,000 stores. The gap became clear as Massmart struggled to grow beyond its existing footprint. Despite acquiring the second-largest retailer in the country for its continental network, Walmart's expansion outside South Africa was disappointing. 8 years into the acquisition, it was clear that Walmart's original playbook for Massmart wasn't working, but the American giant doubled down, pouring in more investment and overhauling its entire approach to the African market. Walmart brought in veteran executive Mitchell Slape as Massmart's new CEO, tasking him with tough but necessary reforms, cutting non-core and underperforming businesses to stabilize the operation. These turnaround efforts came with a hefty price tag. During the pandemic, Walmart injected $230 million into Massmart to shore up its finances. And in 2022, Walmart finally bought out the remaining 47% of Massmart's shares for about $358 million and delisting it from the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. For those keeping score, it is a far cry from the original $2.4 billion investment, a clear sign that the value of the acquisition had plummeted. In 2025, while it continues to invest in South African operations, Walmart's grand plan to use South Africa as a springboard into the rest of the continent has shrunk in the face of tough realities. The company's African footprint has consolidated to just 8 countries, Ironically, the company's biggest wins have come from programs it once saw as regulatory hurdles rather than business opportunities. The Local Supplier Development Initiative, originally a merger requirement, has turned into a rare bright spot, even opening up export opportunities for South African wines in Walmart stores across the US and China. Direct farming projects in Limpopo have been another breakthrough. Instead of relying solely on big suppliers, Walmart started working with local farmers, offering training, mentorship, and help with financing, building relationships that go beyond just buying produce. Still, the landscape is tough. South Africa's growth is projected at just 1% for 2025. Unemployment is nearly 33%, and key industries are struggling. Consumers are feeling the pinch, competition is fierce, and infrastructure headaches persist across the region. Yet, there are glimmers of hope. Last year, online spending in South Africa grew 3 times faster than in-store purchases, and e-commerce is expected to triple by 2030, reaching 12% of total sales, offering a real opportunity for companies that are ready to seize the shift. And clearly, the American retailer is. What is your opinion on this? Can Walmart crack the code to dominate African retail, or will this bold bet serve as yet another cautionary tale on how hard it is to do business on the continent? Next, check out my Patreon. It's free to join, and you'll get a behind-the-scenes look at how the channel runs. Links in the description.